Have you ever sat in the quiet after she's gone? That stillness that hits like a freight train because suddenly all the noise, all the distractions fade and you're left alone with yourself. No text to answer, no calls to pick up, no messages to decode, just silence. And in that silence, you feel the weight of what's missing, the space where she used to be. But here's the thing about silence. It doesn't just echo loss, it reveals truth. It uncovers the parts of you hid behind her smile, her touch, her presence. You might be asking yourself, did she ever really love me? Or was I just a placeholder until something better came along? That question digs deep because the answer isn't always clear. Sometimes love looks like warmth. Sometimes it's cold indifference disguised as affection. Sometimes she loved the idea of you, the best version you showed her when you were trying to impress, to please, to hold on tight. But when reality stepped in, when the cracks showed, maybe she stepped back too. But here's the secret you rarely hear. Her love, or lack of it, doesn't define you. What defines you is what you do next. How you rise after the fall. How you rebuild your worth on your own terms, not on the reflection of someone who couldn't see your value. Take a moment and remember how you felt the last time she looked at you. Was it with warmth or detachment? Did her eyes spark with desire, or were they clouded with doubts, confusion, or maybe regret she didn't know how to express? Love is complicated. It's messy. It doesn't come in neat packages. Sometimes, even when it's real, it's not enough to keep two people together. But your job isn't to chase the love that left. Your job is to become a man so whole that love, real love, finds its way back to you, whether from her or someone else. I want to tell you a story. There was a man named David. David loved her fiercely, too fiercely. He thought love meant giving everything, sacrificing all his boundaries, losing himself in the process. He texted her every day, hoped for her replies, made excuses for her coldness. Until one day she left, and David was shattered. He thought he'd never be whole again, but then something shifted. He stopped chasing, he started living, he built a life around himself. He went to the gym, he traveled alone, he reconnected with old friends, he found new passions. The man who once begged for her attention transformed into a man who no longer needed validation from anyone. Months later, she reached out, sensing a change she couldn't ignore. But David didn't answer, not because he was bitter, but because he had become someone worth waiting for. Someone who had learned the hardest lesson: love yourself first, or you'll never truly be loved. Now imagine that power. Imagine becoming so magnetic, so grounded, that regret isn't something you create with words or actions. It's something she feels naturally, as an echo of what she lost. The key isn't in chasing, it's in becoming. Becoming unshakable, irresistible, untouchable by her absence. Because when you're desperate, you lose. When you're desperate, you're invisible. But when you stand tall in your own life, when you value yourself more than her attention, that's when the tables turn. You don't need to prove your worth to her, or anyone. Your worth is inherent, built over years of struggle, growth, and self-discovery. When she left, maybe she thought you were replaceable. Maybe she thought the love you gave was easy to find. But when you stop being easy, when you start demanding the respect and space you deserve, that's when she starts to wonder, not just about you, but about herself. Did she treat you right? Did she appreciate you? Did she lose someone who truly cared? And if so, can she live with that? That question, that gnawing uncertainty, is the seed of regret. But regret alone isn't enough. It's what you do with that regret that defines the story. You can let it consume her, haunt her, or you can let it empower you. There's a different kind of power in silence. The silence after you stop texting her. The silence after you stop showing up where she is. The silence that says, I'm no longer waiting for your permission to be happy. This is where real men are made. Not in grand gestures or loud declarations, but in quiet moments of self-respect, when you guard your peace like a fortress, when you choose yourself above all else, when you stop giving your energy to people who don't deserve it. And here's the thing, she'll feel that energy. It's magnetic, it's intoxicating, it's the kind of presence that makes her pause and ask herself, what did I really lose? Because deep down, women don't regret losing just any man. They regret losing the man who held himself with dignity, who refused to settle for less, who walked away with his head high, his spirit unbroken, and a life worth admiring. That's the man you want to become, but it's not easy. It requires brutal honesty with yourself. It requires facing your fears, the fear of loneliness, the fear of being forgotten, the fear of starting over. It requires shedding the need to control her feelings or actions and focusing instead on mastering your own life. You must stop asking, how do I make her regret losing me? And start asking, how do I make myself so damn valuable that regret is inevitable? Because regret is not something you create with manipulation or games. It's the natural consequence of your transformation. And when you reach that level, when you stand so firmly in your worth that her absence becomes a reflection of her own loss, not your failure, you don't just win back respect, you win yourself. You become the man who walks away from the ruins, who rebuilds from the ashes, who rises with a strength that no rejection can break. And that strength, that unbreakable spirit, that's the real reason she'll regret losing you. Regret doesn't arrive all at once. It's patient, creeping in slowly like a shadow stretching across the room, growing longer with every day you become someone she no longer recognizes. It's not a sudden flash, but a quiet realization that something valuable slipped through her fingers. Take Michael's story. He thought love meant bending until he broke. When she left, he chased, calls, texts, apologies, but nothing changed. Then one day he stopped, not out of defeat, but because he understood he was chasing a ghost. Instead, Michael turned inward. He rebuilt himself quietly, rediscovered old passions, worked on his strength, found peace in solitude, and in that stillness he became someone powerful, not by trying to impress her, but by becoming a man grounded in his own worth. This is the secret. Regret isn't about punishment, it's about awakening what was ignored, a silent acknowledgement of what was truly lost. But you don't want her regret to be bitter or angry. You want it to come from respect, from realizing you were never just an option, but a rare find. It takes more than surface change. It demands rebuilding your self-worth, setting firm boundaries, and embracing who you really are. The pain you feel now is breaking the old version of yourself, the one who tolerated less, begged for scraps, settled for empty moments. Let that pain teach you. Rise stronger. Stop living for her validation because your value isn't tied to her attention. When you embody that truth, regret will find her, uninvited and undeniable. But this isn't about making her suffer. It's about freeing yourself, becoming unstoppable, the kind of man who fills a room without speaking, whose silence carries weight, whose absence is deeply felt. That's how you make a woman truly regret losing you.